Hello, August. How are you? It's Past Podcast. We'll be recording every day for the month of August. Having to remember not to say April is an adjustment since I just did this a couple of months ago. But this is the past, or the Past Podcast. And we're podcasting each day in August. So check out the show. You might find something new. Episode 107. Dude, slow down with these posts, man. You killing them. Like, the past is back again, man. I really can't believe, like, before one episode gets uploaded, posted, shared, presented with the masses, it's another one on the way. And literally, we are at episode 107. Like, I truly had to, like, check my social media to make sure that we actually were on episode 107, so I don't give the false information. But yeah, 107 is here. The past is back. Your host BT, back at it again, literally. Hitting strides, making moves, talking, wanting to get the message out there to others to let you know where I stand and what I feel about certain topics and things of that nature. And this topic is no exception. Before we continue, I do want to share, if you are looking to do podcasting or you have an interest in podcasting, Spreaker.com/Brite Podcast is where my podcasts are. And I do store multiple episodes. I even have episodes that explains to you, if you're looking or have interest in podcasting, how to get started or what I did to get started. I know the platform is different for everyone, so I don't expect everyone to utilize it the same. If you're not following the Brite Podcast page or link on Spreaker, please check it out. I try to get my recording flow going as consistently as possible. And of course, the episodes are being recorded using the Blue Yeti microphone. Went through my transitional microphones. There will probably be another one being purchased in a couple of years, but right now I've had this microphone for a few months, and I don't regret the decision. So that is where I'm at with that. So episode 107. I did a couple of hours ago. I did record my episode to mainly, offer some heartfelt sympathy and some, positivity of some sort, while also facing the reality that we are where we are. So then this kind of ties into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. And it's ironic yet unique that I'm talking about this story now, because it's an amazing thing when one person has done this, has completed this, and the other one has not. And that's basically what has happened. So I don't want to put names and identities to anything, because that's not how I function. But I will say this. Not everyone knows or really has the true meaning of knowing what moving on is, or how to move on. Turning the page, changing the chapter, starting a new life, new leaf, things of that sort. It's very challenging and very situational for people. And I never realized the extent of how situational it is until going through what I've went through in the past few years. I might have talked about this before, and I'm not sure if I have or have not, but I want to share something with you all and just put some true thoughts into perspective about this. You can be in a place where you've moved on from a previous relationship, i.e. an ex-girlfriend and a former partner, whatever the case may be. The moving on portion requires both parties to move on. Now, disclaimer or reality check, that doesn't always happen. Someone, for whatever reason, will hold on, and trying to figure out that person's reason for holding on, you'll be all year trying to process and figure that out. In most instances or in most cases, that's not your job. It's almost, and I'll be the first to admit, doing this podcast is a little weird, but it's a little realistic, because when you're in the midst of knowing that you change, turn the page, change the channel, progressed forward, worked on everything that you needed to work on, and made the right decisions for yourself, it can kind of surprise you that not everyone's gonna, I won't say support your movement, but not everyone's gonna realize why you're doing what you're doing. And for whatever reason, it's the reality of knowing that you have to, if you expect there to be this change or transition to come with life or whatever, you have to be able to accept that moving on part is coming or is here. And I think people don't like to do that part, because then that requires you to actually acknowledge that it's time to make changes, to better yourself. I will come clean in saying that I know for a fact, trying to progress from a previous circumstance, and I'm going to go into that in a minute, can be a huge task or a major challenge for some people. Now, when I say circumstance, it kind of balloons and cues all three definitions of what I look at as the quote-unquote various types of relationships. So from my perspective, you have the relationship, the situationship, and even though I was told that I made these terms up, they actually do exist, the quotationship. Now, if I haven't detailed these, I'm going to go ahead and detail them now. So, listeners, if this is your first time, I don't mind, going into it and detailing my experience from these. Or not my personal experience, but just the definition of where and how they kind of evolve. But the relationship is you're with someone, you go through your ups and downs, you communicate through things. You're not going to have a perfect flow to that. It's not going to be as they call it, an ebb and flow, where it's everything just all great and perfect and it's this beautiful thing. But you're going to have those bumps and bruises along the way. But as with any relationship, connection, whatever the case may be, you at least can communicate and at least be able to talk to each other and be able to get through things. Situationships, I define those as you're mainly, you're in, you personally know or feel when you're in a situationship, only because you can tell for a fact that the person you're with, you just don't work, but you're also in that we're going through the phase of being together, so it becomes a situation. And situationships, relationships, etc., aren't factored in to just being with someone you date. It also entails and ties into people you're friends with, and we sometimes have to remember that. So you have to be able to take into account that you're gonna come across a relationship that may seem like a relationship, but in reality it's a situationship. And the worst one of all, and I usually wouldn't tie this in as a title or an acknowledgement, is a quotationship. Quotationship, long story short, is when you're with someone, or you may not be with someone, but you live and view your relationships or your dating stature solely through what quotes are out there or what messages other people have left that may not have anything to do with you whatsoever. But because someone else said it and because they threw an emoji in it's the term or it's the norm. The primary one that's always known or addressed from my perspective that I always hear about, and I haven't been on their page thankfully, so that's a blessing, is quote killers. Quote killers is like the tell all be all when it comes to that thought or that perspective of those quotation chips. So where I'm at now with the moving on stage is, and I can be transparent in talking about this. I was involved with someone. We were together for a while. We weren't really relationship bound for a little over 2 years. And it just was life. It was timing, things of that nature. Now we've kind of moved on, and moving on until recently was learned that it was 50% of completion of moving on, because I had made my effort in moving. They did not. And excuse me, I'm sorry. I usually don't do that, but I truly know for a fact that there was not a full move on from both parties. Like I said, from my perspective, I definitely could say for a fact that I had no choice but to move forward. If I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to get through a lot of what I've gone through or accomplished over the years. And I'm sharing all of that and saying all of that just to say that just because you've done your part in moving on, if the other person hasn't moved on, don't sit and wait for them. And I know that's like a strong message, so it seems, but it's actually a valid statement. We sometimes see ourselves trying to wait for someone or wait for something when it's basically just us and moving forward. And we want to. It's a pleasurable experience of, hey, I want to make other people happy, and that's great. But making other people happy and causing yourself to be miserable is a treacherous feeling, and I'm just here to tell you it's not a good look. Like I said, I'm not going to give identities, names, personalities, because that's just not even going to benefit the conversation. But what I will say is this. When moving on, move on. Make your changes, accept the changes that have happened. You can be upset about it, you can cry about it, you can grieve, go through your healing process, etc. All those components are fine. The challenge becomes you have to be secure enough and comfortable in yourself to acknowledge that the moving forward has occurred. And that's what a lot of people don't like doing, because then they have to actually... It's almost like you're forced to face what's in front of you, when in reality, that's what life is. Something comes up, you fuss about it for a while, you realize like, oh, I got to go through this, and this is so much. But then you also know like it's worth it in the long haul. So you got to do what you got to do. And that's just how life is. So I'm not sitting here saying that moving on is going to be easy. I'm not saying that things that we go through are not meant to be hard. Because, even speaking from personal experience, as I mentioned with yesterday, we've experienced and had everything happen that was addressed between last night, especially here in Virginia, here in Richmond. And you also still have to be able to kind of move forward with your lives, because at the end of the day, life still moves forward. So that's my message I leave to you all. And I truly hope that what I share makes sense to someone. Don't be intimidated by the actions of others, and don't let others kind of wear you down as to what you're trying to work on and what you're trying to do. Know that it's not going to be easy, but also take into account that it's okay if it's not a perfect equation that comes along the way that you go through. So until next time, the Paz signing out. Like I said, always check out the episodes. Right now I'm recording every day for the month of August. So y'all take it easy, be blessed, and I'm out. Another episode complete. Another show shared. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out any current shows or previous episodes. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can look me up on the Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under Paz Podcast. If you'd like to go to the website, it is available at pazpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode as well as previous episodes. Until next time, y'all take it easy.